Hello and welcome to the Tachiai podcast. It's February and we just had a lovely Banzuke show up for the Haru Basho happening soon in Osaka. I've got the stalwarts of Tachiai with me. First of all, let's say hello to our man in foreign lands, Josh. Josh, hello.
Hello. Nice to see you guys.
What distant location do you hail from today?
Thailand.
Thailand.
So I would say hello from Thailand in the local language, but I don't know how to do that. So I would say it English. Hello from Thailand.
And joining us is the creator of Tachiai, Andy. Say hello.
Hi, how are y'all doing? And it has been way too long since I had some good pad thai.
Is pad thai even? Oh, never mind. So the Banzuke showed up. I mean, for sumo fans, it's been a long quiet period. I mean, since we had a flurry of activity with Kisuno Sato retirement and a lot of interesting, crazy things happened. We had a surprise U show, and then everything went dark for a long time. I mean, even Super Sleuth Haruth was at a loss for things to publish about. And so we're getting ready to crank up the news machine, the hype around sumo, because Osaka is just 2 weeks away. Actually less than 2 weeks away. And just wanted to pull some reactions. Josh, we'll start with you. Reactions to the Banzuke.
It's just really boring to me. I'll be honest. I mean, it feels really good. It feels really normal when you look at it. I don't see too many guys where it's like, nah, that they shouldn't be there. I mean, I don't know whether that's because, we've kind of got used to the performance level of some of these guys, or, and this is very feasible because our friend LK Sumo has just been really nailing it with the Banzuke prediction. So we see it and we're like, yeah, it sounds about right. So I don't think that there's anything crazy going on in the top division. If you want me to talk about a couple guys who are interesting to me when I look at that,
yep.
I think the first one is Tochinoshin, not because we didn't know what his position would be, but I kind of would call him like the hanging Chad of the Ozeki ranks. It's like, does he count? Does he not? Is he there? Is he supposed to be there? Do we throw him out? Do we keep him in? Who does he count? I don't know. So, he's hanging on at 0-2. Now he's over on the east side. But this is an important tournament because we need to know what kind of an Ozeki he's going to be. He's coming up, close to a year.
Yep.
The only other person that we've looked at in this section before who's been perplexing is Nishikigi, which at Maegashira 3 it still feels kind of weird.
It does feel weird.
The longer he's there, the more normal it's going to become to sumo viewers. So the question for him, I think, and someone else who's reaching a new rank like Hokuto Fuji is whether or not they get like a full slate of top division, top matches at the top of the top division, or if we see more Kyujo that enables, a Nishikigi to just continue to hang around.
Well, so, one person, one of our fans and readers on Twitter posted that Nishikigi is on a Sekiwaki run, and I'm behind him 100%. Go Nishikigi, go! All right, Andy, reactions to the Banzuke.
Well, when I take a look at it, I see that we are in the early stages of a really, really big change.
Yep.
We've got 3 big high-profile retirements from this Banzuke. So this is the first one. We've got no Kisuno Sato.
Down to 2 Yokozuna.
Yeah. It's kind of funny to think of. I guess Takanoiwa kind of riding off in the sunset with the horse. I mean, they had their reconciliation.
Very nice, nicely done.
And it's they were able to have their reconciliation, and now Takanohana is off in exile. Takekaze will still be around, so I mean he'll still be like associated with sumo, but he's gone. As far as some of the rikishi that I think are a bit too high. I think the Oitekaze guys, Endo, Daisho, and Daishoho are probably gonna be in for a hard time this go around. Endo doesn't do very well this high. He was Maegashira 3 in September. He got 3 wins.
Well, he got hurt too.
Yeah. And the last time he was Maegashira 1, he did really well. He went up to Komusubi, but he gets beat around a lot. But I'm really, really hopeful that this one is where he kind of starts putting things together, because that time he did beat Goedo, he beat Takayasu, and with the weakness up at the top, I really want to be able to see him kind of get over that edge. But Daisho, this is his highest rank now. His previous high was at M3 twice, and he got a total of 9 wins in 2 tournaments there.
Yep.
So I think that he's probably the one that is headed for at least 10 losses this
Headed for the rocks.
Yeah.
Disaster will strike.
And Daishoho will be he's their stablemate, and it'll be interesting to see more of him since he's coming up from Juryo. He's had a really steady 8 win Kachikoshi for 5 tournaments in a row. He's had 10 Kachikoshi tournaments in a row. Yeah. So I'm eager to see what he can do down there on the bottom rungs. See if he's somebody who, like Yago, is gonna keep kind of coming up, or if he'll hang around down there like Nishikigi used to.
So you touched on something I think that's pretty important. I once again think that for this tournament, some of the best action, some of the most, like, what on earth is going to happen is on the bottom third of the Banzuke yet again. Because I think even more so than Hatsubasho was, because now we've got, a fading Yoshikaze down there. You've got Kageyaki, who is, he's hot or cold, and he was definitely cold at Hatsu. And you've got all of these Juryo promotees that are coming in pretty far up the Banzuke, right? Tomokazi's coming in at 13, Terutsuyoshi coming in at 14. I think the NHK daily highlight reels that most of the fans are watching are going to focus a lot on the lower third of the Banzuke, because I think that's where the really crazy action is going to be.
Well, and you got Toyonoshima coming back up.
Yes.
Long absence.
Oh, I'm very excited about that.
And one of the ones that is, I think, one of my real mysteries, and I'm hoping he's going to do well, is Chiyono Kuni.
Oh, geez.
I was a bit worried.
Is he even going to enter? Right, because he obliterated his knee.
Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't. But the only thing that I've seen on Twitter was a picture of him from a hospital bed. So I hope that he stays there and kind of gets healthy.
Well, yeah, but Chiyono Kuni's sumo style is very frantic and high mobility, high energy, a lot of rapid changes in balance in where his feet are, and his knees have got to be rock solid. Or we're going to see a repeat of what happened to Ura.
Yeah.
It's just my 2 cents. So, yeah, as far as when the Banzuke came out, the thing that really caught my eye is that it just seemed odd to see only 2 Yokozuna slots now, right? It was like, oh, wow, yeah, there's just a pair of them now. And both of them are sort of on, I don't want to be a wet blanket because we've got 2 great Yokozuna, but they're both on a sort of exit path, whether they like it or not. And certainly Hakuho does not like that. But the damage that he suffered to his knee and to his foot, these injuries are happening more frequently. The injury to the knee happened to one that he had already had surgery on, and there are just so many times you can go to that well before your orthopedic surgeon is going to say, I don't know anymore what you've got or what we can do for you. But the other thing that really underscored to me is that, we've got 3 tadpoles in the joy, right? We've got, of course, Takakeisho, we've got Mitakayumi, and now Enosho is up there at Majishira 5. And this is really the tadpole cohort coming into their own. Some of them, have fallen by the wayside and may be back someday. But definitely this could be the tadpole basho. But the other thing that really caught my eye is that I can't believe this guy's luck. Chiyoshoma clinging by his fingernails and a bit of crazy glue onto the bottom edge of this Banzuke down there at Majishira 15, probably much to the chagrin of his stablemate, the bulbous Chiyomaru, who is relegated back down to Juryo 1 West. I know there are a lot of our readers who wish Chiyomaru was going to be back up in the top division, but no such luck. Anyhow, there was a lot of motion in this Banzuke. Let's talk a little bit about the ups and the downs. Who caught your eye as far as promotions and demotions? Andy, why don't you go ahead and go first?
One of the big promotions that I saw was Asabenke after his Sandanmei Yusho. He's zoomed way up into the Makuuchi. I think he's an MS-13 now. He may have some new tattoos, but he definitely rocketed up there, and you may recognize his name. He had been in Juryo for a while, a couple of years ago, and he had fallen back into Makuuchi. He came back to Juryo for, I think, a tournament or two, but injury had brought him all the way back down to Sandanmei. So he came back with a strong 7-0 Yusho in the last tournament down there, and I'm hoping that that's kind of the prototype for my other ups and downs, which would be Terano Fuji.
Oh, geez. Do we even know if he's going to be able to enter? I am very, very hopeful that he will be there. That he's at Jonidan 48, so he's not going to be down. He's not going to be there with a bunch of I don't know, really, really strong guys. He's actually going to be down there kind of close to some Hattori Zakura guys. Not quite.
But he'll be down there with some pretty small guys. So
he's also down there with Kenho.
Oh, jeez. He's not a small guy.
Yeah, he's a bit of a river dredging barge put on a Mawashi.
So long as he doesn't try to do his comeback with his kaiju action against Kenho, he should be able to ease his knees back into some competitive sumo. It's his first time that low. I looked it up since September of 2011. It took him 2 tournaments to make it to Makuuchi, but then 2 years to make it up to Juryo.
So, I mean, this long out of the ring, we're back to talking about some of the problems Kisano Sato faced with deconditioning, right? Is it even possible to regain the strength and the balance, of the involuntary muscles, let alone the voluntary muscles that can hold your body in such a way that you're effective sumotori? I'm really worried about Terano Fuji.
With diabetes.
With the diabetes, yes. That's, of course, a very healthy look for you.
Yeah, and so it will be a challenge. I'm very, and he's obviously older now, so he's not going to have as much time as he did in 2011 to really try to claw his way back up.
Yep.
But I'm wishing him luck because I miss him. He was pretty fierce when he was up in the Makuuchi. So
we may see another campaign much like what Ura put on that got a snowballing pile of attention.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Josh. Ups and downs. Who really caught your eye as far as promotions and demotions?
Sure. Three promotions I think are interesting, and we'll talk about one stable that I think is in a little bit of trouble.
Cool.
So Taratsuyoshi is making his top division debut, and he's a small guy, but he's ridiculously strong. He's tenacious. I think his promotion will also serve as motivation to continue to spur on his friend Enho, who they hang out a lot. I don't know if Enho needs more motivation, but I don't think it's totally fair to draw a comparison between Taratsuyoshi and someone like Ura, but he's very entertaining in his sumo. Of course, he also does the huge salt throw that gets everybody really excited. He has this never give up attitude, and I think it'll be good to see him in a division where physicality is more of a question. So that's Taratsuyoshi. Tomokaze is someone that we followed since the very beginning. He's still never had a makekoshi. He's come straight up from the very bottom. He's always been an oshi guy, heavy pusher thruster. But I watched him win with a throw when I was in Tokyo in January, and he was down in Juryo, obviously, and I just kind of came away thinking, like, my God, if this guy can mix in Yotsuzumo with the pushing and thrusting ability, then he's going to be a force in the top division. That said, there's a catalog of these heavy pusher thruster guys hanging around. Bruce, you said the bottom third of the top division. Yutakayama comes to mind. So Tomokaze's main skill, while it's an asset, it can't be the asset anymore, if he's going to continue. The third guy, in terms of a really nice promotion to see, is Kiribayama, who is making his debut in Juryo. He's Mongolian. He's not the biggest guy, but he's incredibly strong. He
looked good in Makuuchi. He really did.
And, Andy was referencing, Terano Fuji is a strong guy who took a couple of years to get through Makuuchi. And this is kind of the same case with Kiribayama. It's taken him a couple of years, and it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. And I think, Bruce, to your point, when he's been on, he's really been on. But he hasn't always adapted well to big promotions. So I think he could go back down this time. I don't think it's the last that we're going to see of him. But look, if he keeps eating that Michinoku Bea Chanko, I think he'll be fine. I had it in January. It's great. So, if he keeps eating that, it's all good.
Well, don't get me going on the Chanko again.
As for a stable that I'm actually a little bit concerned about, and you guys may know a little bit more of the history here than I do, but I was kind of looking into what concerned me, and I was looking into Nishikido Bea. And this is led by the former Mito Izumi, who's a Sekiwake. And before Taratsuyoshi, he was the Salt Shaker. That was his nickname. And, he had a really lengthy and successful career. He won a Yusho. But, this stable, it's kind of interesting. In the last year, there's been some questions raised because this is a stable that had the former Canadian Homura Nishiki a few years ago, and he came out on Facebook and said, some disparaging comments about the culture and the people in that stable. In January, they only had 7 guys left in the stable, 2 of whom have retired, with another being Banzuke guy, which was the guy we were actually kind of interested in, this guy Ruga, whose name was Corvin Delzato. He's this Japanese, American, Italian background. So we were really looking for him. And then, at the top of the stable now, you've got Mitoryu, who came into sumo with all kinds of hype. Prospect guys will know him by, his Mongolian name, Turbold. We were really looking forward to his debut for a long time. And he hasn't really found his form yet in Juryo. He made his debut near the top of Makuuchi, and he hasn't really been able to push on. And then you have Goku Shindo, who is really the only guy who's been a mainstay of that stable. He finally got up to Juryo. He absolutely, got wrecked and got injured. And Kyujo, now he's had a big demotion. So, it's interesting. You're going to want to look at this and see, if there are new recruits. And I haven't seen if there are new recruits specifically for Nishikido Bea in this tournament, but are they going to be able to kind of arrest that slide in form? Are there cultural problems there? Is the former Mito Izumi, now Nishikido, able to actually produce Rikishi who are going to get a good head of steam and some form behind them? Because it looks like a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, great points. The Goku Shindo story is just terrible because he was, his Yusho in September was very commanding, and it was like, okay, great, we got this guy who's going to be a real Juryo mainstay, and he just could not hold it together. And as you cited, the injuries, I worry about what's going on at that Heiya, and there are a couple of others that are sort of on life support as well. And with a new, you've got a new YDC set up. You're probably going to get some new blood going at the top level of the Sumo Koyakai. Are there changes going to be made? Who can tell? You've got a number of people with Kabu getting ready to retire. Maybe there are changes that might come up later this year or early next year. Interesting to see. Okay, I'll take some ups and downs then. First and foremost, Ishiura, right? I bitched and whined about Ishiura because he burst on the scene in November of 2016, and he was this compact bundle of strength and energy and technique. He was lightning fast. He was taking people apart, and we don't know why, but he sort of turned into this trick and stunt player that did a lot of henkas, and his sumo became very predictable and very boring, and it comes as no surprise that he ended up back down in Juryo. And for a while, it seemed like he was not really too motivated to do much about it, but now he's back. And specifically at Hatsubasho, he really seemed to be back to a more matured version of some of the sumo that we saw in 2016. I think this guy, he matches up very well with Terutsuyoshi. The fact that both of them came up this round, I think, is going to preface, possibly some really good small man sumo. The other one, I'd be negligent if I didn't call out to fellow Texan Waki Ichiro, who managed to break back out of Jonadan, and he is now Sandanme West 99. Talk about being at the edge of the Banzuke, but hey, that Sandanme, it's valid. You're there. Hope he can produce some more great sumo like what he did in January. He always fights better in Tokyo, so fingers crossed that he can make it happen in Osaka. The other one is, people may not quite remember Amakaze. Amakaze was a Juryo mainstay for a long time. He was a contemporary of Ura's. He's also from Oguruma Beo, which, Yoshikaze, Takikaze, Yago, all these guys. He was injured, and he has been plummeting down the Banzuke. He's now in Jonadan. And I have to wonder if he's going to be able to pull back into sumo or not. He faces similar kinds of questions like, Terunofuji does. It's like he's been out of it for so long. Is there anything left? And I think last but not least, I'll point out to fans, because I'm sure they're wondering about Ura. Ura, don't expect him back on the dojo anytime soon. He re-injured the exact same knee that he had surgery on. He says he'd like to try and get surgery and see if he can make it back again. I think that's madness, but we'll leave that up to him and his doctors. But that's me going through my ups and downs. But let's move on to one of my favorites, Genki Report. Let's talk about who we think is in good shape and ready to fight, and who is a little more than paper mache. All right, Josh, you're going to go first. Give us your Genkis.
Well, can I just say first, whenever you talk about Amakaze, whenever I'm like going by a store that has Amazake Kit Kats, I always there's always this thing in my mind where I'm thinking about Amakaze for some reason. I can't undo that little switch. Sure. So two guys for me. Tamawashi, obviously, I think is the guy that we're going to say at the outset should be the most Genki. He's the current Yusho holder. When you have an unlikely Yusho winner, the question is always, can he repeat? With the field where it is, I don't think there's any reason he can't challenge again. I do think we probably should keep it a little cool with respect to, is he going to be an Ozeki until we see him kind of keep continuity. I would hazard a guess that at 34, he's been around sumo long enough that he knows how to deal with the obligations, the parties, the sponsor commitments from winning a Yusho. But, we didn't have a Jungyo. So we will get to see pretty early on whether everything that comes with a Yusho party has taken a toll on his performance, as we've seen happen to people before.
So let me jump in the middle of your thing, if I could. The fascinating thing about there being no Jungyo is that we are going to probably see some significant ring rust, because you've got two Yokozuna who sat all or most of the last Basho out. So A, they're rested, but B, they haven't really done sumo in some time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, the interesting thing about that is, that kind of raises this other question, right? Which is, are those guys going to be able to come back healthier? Because we always bemoan the situation that these guys get injured and they never get the rest that they need, and then they come back and they're still injured. But who knows? I mean, that could create a situation where we see more health than we've seen in a while. But to your point, if you're not really doing a competitive level of competition, that can have a downside as well, and we'll see who's prepared. The only other person that I want to bring up in Genki report, and I'm sorry to kind of end on a downer again, is Ichinojo.
Oh, geez.
And you kind of have to ask, where does he go from here? And how can he find the inner strength and the reserves that he needs to get back up into the Sanyaku ranks? He's down at, whatever it is, Mike share 4 or 5. And he's largely facing the same group of people this time as he did last time. But there's a real crowded situation now when you look at Komusubi, Sekiwake positioning, guys that don't look like they're going to be moving. So, I'm not suggesting that Hokuto Fuji is going to crush it. But I think health apart, he's had the talent level of a Komusubi for some time. So if you're Ichinojo and you're looking up at that, it probably feels like a really long road up to Sekiwake again. And I seem to remember him saying something like, being an Ozeki is more important to me than having a girlfriend. But, you might want to get at least one dating app in the meantime, because I think, it's going to be a minute.
Well, and that, to me, that I had not heard that quote. And to me, that is just very, it doesn't seem right that he would say that, because he never seems to be motivated to get that Ozeki rank. He seems to be motivated when there's a big stack of Kensho on that's coming up to him, and he will he will dominate some of and play spoiler up against a Yokozuna or somebody in a big highlight match, and then get backed out by somebody like Nichikigi. And so I don't know. I would like to see the passion and the fire from him, and so maybe he does need a girlfriend. But I think he still plays spoiler, and he's right there at the cusp of the joy. So he's still going to be facing some of the top guys. It will be interesting to see if he can, I guess, make some headlines as far as when we get deeper into the Yusho run, and if all of a sudden this Ichinojo Kakuryu bout comes up, I would not be surprised if Ichinojo backs him out and totally takes him and Takakeisho and Tamawashi and Hakuho's lunch. But then,
that'd be cool.
Has Endo back him out. And so, he's very, he goes hot and cold so quickly.
All right, so stripe on into that then. Who are your Genki picks, Andy?
My Genki pick is Aoyama. I'm wondering if this is going to be his one of his breakout tournaments. He seemed to be there on the cusp for a while. Will be in in the middle weekend or even into the second week, and
Yep.
he's being mentioned in the leadership pack. He seems to just falter there when he goes up against um, the the headline bouts, like against Hakuho or Kakuryu. But I just feel like there's something there where he's about to break out. He's there at Maegashira 7, so he's not going to be beaten down too bad in that first week or even the second week, unless he starts to like put together 7 wins to start the tournament. That he's not going to even face any of the top guys. He's not going to face any Sanyaku. So it it would not surprise me if we see him in as a dark horse. And I really do hope that he's Genki.
Yep.
I mentioned earlier, but my not Genki is Chionokuni. I'm
Yep.
hoping that he is not Genki and on the couch and just trying to heal up. But yeah, that.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I hope Chionokuni decides he's going to take the more cautious path towards that knee because his
Yeah.
sumo depends on his mobility just
Well,
so much.
and knees have been, if I wanted to mention two more for the demotions, we've got Kotoyuki and we've
Yep.
got Jokoryu. Both of them, they had gotten into the cusp of Makuuchi for Kotoyuki and into Juryo for Jokoryu, and they both got injured. And then subsequently demoted. And like with Chionokuni, I'm hoping that they take it easy and come back when they're ready.
Yep. So I'll just I'll touch on a couple of ones that I think are interesting to me. I have to say with sort of a heavy heart because I'm a huge fan is that I think Yoshikaze is well, we don't know what's going on with Yoshikaze. He's been very he hasn't been very direct about it, which is okay. It's his life, it's his health. But I think that he's probably on the exit path, the exit ramp himself. He's pretty far down the Banzuke this time, and he tends to, if he's on, cause a whole lot of havoc down there. Which, if he's on his way out, fine. I would love to see him go into crazy mode down there at Majishira 12, because if you look at all of the people around him in the Banzuke, it would just be a crazy wild time. Of course, he wouldn't be against Tomokaze or Yago because they're stablemates. But man, just look at all the great matches where he would flog somebody. While I'm on a negative bent, I'm going to talk about Yutaka Yama. Yutaka Yama was leader of the freshman class for a while, and he just ever since the Aki Basho where he got injured, he has struggled, and I think he will continue to struggle, and we may see him back down in Juryo. So yeah, I'm sorry. A lot of my Genki stuff is negative, but let's go positive. We've touched on him in a couple of times. Nishikigi. I don't know what they're feeding this guy. Please keep feeding it to him. Especially us Yanks, we love a Cinderella story. A sort of every man who does his level best, but never can quite seem to put it together. Suddenly finding, I don't know, the magic cookie or the whistle that summons the djinn or whatever. But he's got it now, and I hope he continues to use it. And that's me in Genki Report. So before we exit, let's touch on a couple of news topics. First of all, we ended the Hatsubasho with some rumbling and some grousing about Takakeisho and his hoped for promotion to Ozeki. And LK Sumo did some fantastic analysis on the site, discussing some of the prior Ozeki runs, successful and unsuccessful, and comparing them to what Takakeisho's got going on. Just going to throw this out there. Josh, you first. Thoughts about the Takakeisho Ozeki run, which could very well culminate here in Osaka?
Boy, I've got so much. I don't know where to start. I mean, look, I think the decision that was taken was all good. I think that this is a situation where he is going to be better for not being promoted after the last tournament over the long run. But what'll be interesting to watch is now it's about how he responds to those who felt he wasn't ready to be an Ozeki. And most people in their life have been through a situation where they've been passed over for a promotion for one reason or another. The really good athletes, just like the really good people you meet in your career, use that as motivation, and it drives them on and it makes them want to perform at an even higher level. So, do I think he was ready to be Ozeki now? I mean, I still kind of don't. He feels kind of like this Ozeki Wake for me. Clearly he's better than a Sekiwake in terms of talent level, his ability to win a lot of matches. Ultimately, it's about who can win a lot of matches. But I think it's a case of form right now. And, an easier dance card than over history suggests that he has had than he probably will be getting over a longer period of time. So when you look at Takakeisho, for me, in this sort of question of an Ozeki run, to me, it feels like he needs a couple more tricks in his locker, right? He needs a little bit more of like the Fuji about him. And in that sense, I just mean like he's got to have some more surprises, right? Like a guy like Fuji always had surprises. That doesn't mean their style or their technique is at all the same. But when you think about Takakeisho as this, and we talk about his wave action, Tsupari, he'd be a one-move Ozeki. That would be his move. It's an unpredictable move. Okay, Tochinoshin is a guy with one great move that always works when he's healthy. When he's not healthy, he's not a good Ozeki. Koto Shogiku was a solidly performing Ozeki for 5 years with one solid move. And
it won him a Yusho.
It won him a Yusho, but Takakeisho's already got a Yusho. So at his age, he's like 22, he should be having a higher ambition than 5 years as an Ozeki with one Yusho. He's already got it. If he doesn't add anything to his sumo, then Koto Shogiku is his realistic ceiling for me. But
wow.
There's
accurate but amazing.
But I would say there's a number of guys in a similar boat, right? Like you look at like how you project people. Like for Abi, if Abi doesn't add anything to his sumo, if he doesn't add the Yotsu element to his sumo, then his ceiling is probably like Tamawashi, right? But for both those guys and a few others, if they can unlock a missing element, they can raise the ceiling. And then for people like us who talk about this, we can revise it up or down, based on their development or injuries. So, Takakeisho, he's I think if we talk about him being an Ozeki, which he will, and being a good Ozeki, which we want, he's got to find a little more. And hopefully he starts to find that this time.
Cool. Andy, thoughts on Takakeisho?
No, I agree. I mean, he has not been around for a long time for him to be figured out, and I feel like that Goedo bout kind of gave you the sense that Goedo had figured him out.
Well, we came to find out later that he injured himself within the opening seconds of that match.
Oh, he did. Oh,
yes.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah, it came out several days later that he ended up taking a trip to the hospital and he had problems. So
it was his foot, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Hopefully it's back together.
Oh crap! I didn't realize that because with Goedo, like he just totally jumped all over him and it caught me by complete surprise.
Oh yeah.
And so
well, I mean that's good. That final match though was fantastic Goedo sumo. When Goedo decides that he's going to produce, that's what you get. If you even blink, you're going to wonder what happened to you.
And that's what I'm hoping to be able to see. But he always seems to be. This is Goedo. He always seems to be healthy, but then underperforming.
Yeah, well, he's a hero in practice. He always is, because he goes out and he practices like a madman. But his body, like so many of these older guys, the cumulative damage to their body is beyond what they can, just bear down and overcome anymore, and it's limiting their performance. Speaking of which, I'm sorry to segue like that, but our favorite glass cannon, the Georgian Tochi no Shin, he's Kataban again. He looks pretty darn hurt. We love to see this guy do his sumo because it's just so impressive. Andy, thoughts? Can Tochi no Shin bring it together?
Well, I mean, this is another one where it falls in exactly where what Josh was saying. He was a one trick Ozeki, and that trick is not. It's not that everybody figured it out. It's that he can't do it again because his knees are they can't handle it, and so he can't. He's not going to be able to uh, do his what's the term?
Lift and shift?
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do his lift and shift, and I mean, especially if he's going to be up against like an Ichinojo or something. And so
Well, he has lifted Ichinojo before. That's what's amazing.
well, and that's the thing. Like there was that 4 minute bout with Ichinojo, and then they had a half a dozen of those bouts where somewhere out of nowhere he just picks up Ichinojo, and it wasn't like Ichinojo backed up. It was he legitimately picked up Ichinojo, and it just seems like it has worn him down. And I would not. From the poll that I did, it seems like a lot of people out there are not seeing a Tochinoshin Ozeki in May.
Yeah, that's too bad because he has a big backing in Europe, and a lot of people will be disappointed. All right, let's rotate into the last sort of news topic I want to cover. Of course, the Japanese press was not too far into this after Kisano Sato retired. But, Japan really wants and probably needs another Japanese-born Yokozuna. And the likely next candidate is, of course, Takayasu. Takayasu picked up a really terrible habit from Kisano Sato, which is this perpetual string of Junyushos, always half a step away from taking the cup, but never quite getting there. Out of all of the Ozeki, out of all the Yokozuna we have now, he's the youngest, he's the strongest, he's the healthiest. He's the most likely to be the sort of bridge Rikishi into the sort of new generation. But the question is can he find that missing element, as Josh put it, to take him that one last step forward in performance? Andy, thoughts about Takayasu?
I still haven't seen like the Takayasu from that Ozeki room when after he stepped off the dohyo and it just seemed he looked and knew that there was something wrong when he tore his seemed like he tore a leg muscle.
Yeah, it's the thigh muscle.
And I haven't seen him be consistent really since. Like you said, he's super close. He gets to the Junior show, but I mean, Goedo had a Zensho Yusho, which just is beyond me. And Takayasu, I don't see even competing for 14 wins or 15 wins. Like, I just don't. I can't see this tournament going for that. I think that. Maybe now with the Kisano Sato drama on the side, well, not on the side, but fully in the rearview mirror.
Well,
maybe.
So let me. I'm sorry. Let me halt you up there. So there had been a flurry of photos on Sumo Twitter of Kisano Sato suited up and training with Takayasu, and remarks is that they're sort of getting back to their roots. Is that the pressure from the perpetual injury from the Yokozuna is gone now, and the two are nonstop training together once more, which I think is very interesting. Go ahead, Andy.
No, that I think that the one key element there though is that this is Kisano Sato after his big injury, and when he was able to train with Takayasu at 100%. they were both 100%.
Yeah.
And now I just don't see Takayasu getting back up there. I think that we are on the cusp of a big change in Sanyaku, but I just don't see Takayasu leading it.
Okay, cool. Josh, thoughts about Takayasu?
I completely agree with Andy. I haven't seen that much from him. I mean, there's been so much media coverage and anticipation of him, and it actually brings me, if we talk about the Makuuchi Joy stuff in a little bit, it's interesting because the hype around him and the Takayumi is kind of reaching further down with a couple other people with the same background. But, Takayasu still has to put it together. He's a few years younger than Goedo, but honestly, I don't think his track record is really any better yet. Goedo was 30 when he won his first Yusho, and if Takayasu doesn't win one this year, then so will he be. So that's that. I mean, he's got to put together and he's got to win. And is his best sparring partner right now Kiseno Sato, who has not even really been performing at the level of a Maegashira 2, 3, 4, 5 for a very long time. I don't know. So I think he's got to find his fitness. I think he's got to find his partners, and I think he's got to find his ability to win. If he's going to be the hope. Otherwise, I don't see it either right now.
So we spent a decent amount of time during the Hatsubasho focusing on the ones to watch. So some interesting rikishi further down the Banzuke that most people, unless they're digging through the depths of YouTube or through some of the Japanese streaming sites, will never get a chance to see. But these are typically some up and coming folks, and we talked a little bit about the division below Juryo, which is Makushita, which is witness to some of the most intense, brutal, nothing holding anyone back bouts that I've ever seen in my life, because they are so close to gaining Sekitori status that they can taste it. So Josh, some thoughts around Makushita coming up here?
Well, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, these folks who are down there are close to that line, as they call it, the line between heaven and hell, of you getting up to the salaried ranks and all the benefits that come with that, versus being down in that sort of purgatory of the bottom 4 divisions. And so the Makushita Joy, as they call it, is starting to get really interesting again. Level of the top division. It's really Makushita 1, down to anywhere around Makushita 8 or 9, where you just have this crush of usually really talented guys. But there's a flux that happens because you'll have a tournament like we just had, where there's a number of demotions and Intai and things like that, and that creates the movement that we want to see to kind of push these guys forward. So really quickly on a couple interesting names. Koto Kamatani Sadoka Takibeya is a guy who had a lot of hype around him when he came into sumo, and then everyone was like, what happened? But he's still only 21, and he's starting to put things together. Irodori is at the very top position. He had a fantastic tournament last time out. I want to see him get promoted. I want to see more guys from Shikorayama in the top divisions. I think it's a really interesting stable. You have Ryuko, who our friend John Gunning has, of course, tipped as a future Ozeki. And we covered all the way back in the very first ones to watch. He's a very balanced rikishi. If you go and you look at the data visualization that Andy put together, he's not overwhelmingly a Yotsu or an Oshi guy. The name that I think is most curious to me this time, as I was referencing a little bit ago from Takayasu, is Koto Kuzan, who has been in sumo for almost 10 years, but he's still only 24. And he's been hanging around Makushita for a while. He's one of these guys that took absolutely ages to reach the Makushita Joy. And now he has an opportunity in Makushita 2 to push the salaried ranks. So some interesting stuff about him. First of all, despite being a Koto, he's not a Sadoka Taki guy. He's from Arashiobeya, so he's very familiar with all the great sumo cats.
I'm sorry, I have to stop you. Arashiobeya, home of the mole boss. Please continue.
Yes, yes. I gotta say, while we're on that tangent, we had this great comment thread going on, I think it was yesterday on the site, and I actually there's this book on Amazon you can get, someone linked to it in the comments, and it's a book that has the two cats from Arashi Obeya. It's like a photo thing. So I ordered it, and I hope I get it this week. It's like super exciting.
Keep going.
So anyway, yeah. So he's from Arashi Obeya. It's the home of Sokokurai, obviously. The Onami brothers. Oh, you have the book. There it is. Fantastic. So that's brilliant. We'll all have it in our collection. So yeah, the other thing that I think is fantastic is he's probably the only person named Jasper on the Banzuke, which is amazing. So his first name's Jasper. He's going to be the only Jasper in sumo history. He's from the Philippines originally, moved to Japan as a kid, so he's half Japanese. And so, of course, his mother has come out and said her ambition is that he can be as successful as Takayasu and Mitakeyumi. And so he's knocked out 5 straight Kachikoshi. He should be coming physically into his peak. So I think he's a good tip to navigate promotion this time. So I think Kotokuza and Irodori, hopefully they can go up. Ryuko's a good shout. We'll see who else joins him.
Andy, anything you want to bring in on the Makushita Joy?
I am looking forward to watching some more of the lower divisions this tournament. I mean, I've been able to find more of Juryo and Makushita on Twitter and YouTube, but I mean, so far the names are familiar, but I can't put together like I don't know much of the I don't know, much of their careers. So I'm looking forward to learning more about them.
Yeah, well, being on the East Coast, you're at a huge time disadvantage to watching Makushita because it comes on, I guess, around midnight or 1 in the morning for yourself. So that's tough. I'll bring up one more name at Makushita 7. That's Hoshoryu, the nephew of Asa Shoryu. He did pretty darn well, notwithstanding that terrible match where Ura damaged his knee. And the fact that he is boosted now up within, under long odds, but granted promotable rank is just absolutely amazing. If you want to see someone who is well motivated and will probably chew through somebody's leg in order to get into Juryo, I think we should watch Hoshoryu. So let's wrap up our podcast with predictions. Andy, our predictions are always regrettable. I'll point out that you, in fact, at one point not too long ago, predicted that Tamawashi would take a Yusho. I mean, you were in the wrong tournament, but by golly, you got it right eventually. So I know in the podcast following that tournament, you apologized. Maybe you ought to reconsider. Let's have another, marker for the future, Andy. Who do you think you like? And just give us some predictions.
I got 3 words. You show die. I'm calling you show for Shodai. So,
oh my God!
Wow.
I think we're seeing the future of the Tachiai there with Shodai. I mean, he's unbelievably a consistent joy wrestler. I mean, he's not thrilling at all. I mean, well, I can't say that. It is exciting to see him, but the Tachiai obviously is one of the least combative Tachiais out there. But I think that's what's going to be his saving grace, and what's going to be key to his longevity up there is the stand-up Tachiai.
Don't get me started on Shodai. Are you intentionally yanking my chain?
Yeah.
All right, because he went 7 and 8, and he still freaking made Jashira 3. Okay. I told people that I was going to lose my mind if that happened.
And Josh, it's gone.
Predictions, please.
You promised and you delivered. It's such a weird tournament coming up. It's funny because I'll look up and down this Banzuke and I'm like, yeah, who's gonna win? I don't know. In theory, as I said a couple of tournaments ago, maybe it was even before Hatsuya, I was like, I feel like this is going to be a really big Ozeki tournament. Yeah. And that I just don't have that feeling right now. But equally, it's tough to know in what condition even the two Yokozuna are going to show up. Yep. Hakuho seems to be in a really bad place. So you start to kind of look down from there. There are some interesting names. I mean, I'm not going to even give a Yusho prediction, but I think people who I think could do well are Kaisei. Obviously, we expect good things of really all four of the guys who I think are in Sanyaku, with the possible exception of Hokuto Fuji, who may learn a couple lessons this time. But, Kaisei could do well. He could be in the race. He could challenge. Onosho, I'm not sure if he's in a position where he's actually ready to challenge, but he certainly could, get up there with another special prize win tournament. You look further down, it's like it wouldn't be beyond the realm of imagination for a guy who's just absolutely blitzed his way through, like Tomokaze, to at least put up 10 wins. So, those are the kind of guys that I'm looking at, as well as the other two new guys to the division. And I think from somewhere there's going to be someone who healed up and is going to be able to go on a race, go on a really good run and make things interesting in the second week. But I think a couple of those guys are going to come from the lower half of the division, and which is great because it adds intrigue.
So I'll finish out going out a bit on a limb. I think that Hakuho won't start. I think that he's too banged up. I think Kakuryu will start, but will probably withdraw because he's still injured as well. It will come down to Takayasu and Goedo, of all people. I think Goedo, hometown, looking at sort of, finishing out his career, he'd like to try and maybe put a second picture up on the rafters of the Kokugi-kan. And I think that Tamawashi has got to be considered to be in the running again because he exited the Hatsubasho with the cup and with, 6 months to train and to rest and recover from all the publicity. And he didn't pick up any noticeable injuries. So he is starting pretty much where he left off, and he's got to be a force to be reckoned with. So, Andy, you want to say something before we go?
Yeah, just hearing your prediction about Kakuryu, that made me wonder about whether you see a retirement before September.
Maybe. I think that if we see a Nokazuna end to the Haru Basho, that you're going to hear all kinds of nasty noises coming from the YDC. I think now that Kisuna Sato has stepped aside and taken up his coaching position, that the YDC, under new management, by the way, may in fact be more vocal and may in fact be in a mood to clean house. So I definitely can foresee pressure coming on Hakuho and possibly also on Kakuryu, which it'll be ugly. It'll be ugly if it happens. Anyhow, folks, sorry to end on a down note. We're looking forward to the Haru Basho. We think it's going to be amazing action. We think it's going to be 15 days of solid, nonstop, intense sumo from the bottom division all the way to the top. And we'd like to thank you for spending nearly an hour with us, sumo fans, yammering on and having a good time. So thank you all. Appreciate it. And remember, when you think sumo, think Tachiai.